My name is Fred. I work with Folk Solutions. We are into English proficiency, training and registrations, whether it's SAT, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT, IELTS. My number is in the comment of this video. You can actually contact me via WhatsApp, call, will answer you, all right? But this video is actually on evidence-based writing of the SAT. All right, this is one of the section of the SAT that is a bit trickish, but in this video we're going to simplify it for you because our intention is that you will have a very good high score, a very good score in the SAT exam generally. Now, the evidence-based writing requires you to decide if a passage, a sentence, can be improved by making changes to the words. You can make changes to the words that make up the sentences, the punctuation, sentence order, like you can reorder the sentence, or any other kind of correction. So overall, the essence of the evidence-based writing is to give you sentences that you have to improve upon. You can improve some of these sentences by removing these words, removing this punctuation, reordering the sentence, or adding to them, And you also need to understand that some of the sentences might not have any issue. So in that case, you don't need to change anything on the sentence. But overall, the evidence-based writing of the SAT does not require you to write anything. You're not going to be writing like letter or writing like an essay. No, you are going to be given sentences, passages, or paragraph rather, and asked to improve on them. Remind you, and please don't forget, like I've mentioned, some of the sentences might have corrections, others might just be okay like that. So if you read the sentence and you feel is okay, you don't need to bother like you must add or remove something. Now, there are some things, some tips, like I mentioned earlier, some tips that will help you to be able to improve on these sentences. The first is proper capitalization. You need to understand, you need to pay attention to capitalization. And mind you, in English language, there are three things that can end a sentence: a question mark, an exclamation mark, or the popular period. So whenever you have any of these, the character, the letter coming after them has to be capitalized. Also pay attention to proper nouns, regardless of where a proper noun is found in a sentence, it has to be capitalized. Another thing you pay attention to is proper punctuations. Punctuations are the ingredients that make good sentence or good sentences. So if they are misplaced, just like salt is very important in your meal. But when they become excess, you won't be able to take that meal, right? So that is how it is. All right. So you pay attention to proper punctuations, right? You look at it. The comma, is it where it's supposed to be, or is that even supposed to be a comma there where it is? You look at the period, or what is called full stop. Is it where it's supposed to be, or is not even supposed to be there at all? So you look at others like hyphen, like apostrophe, quotation and quotes, and several others. If apostrophe, you need to pay attention to it because it can be used in plural form and in singular form. I'll just use a word that ends with S, standing for the word for any plural form of any word. Now, if I'm going to use apostrophe, it's supposed to be in front, not behind. So if I have a sentence that is putting it behind, that sentence is not correct. Or yes, this makes that sentence incorrect. And if it is a word that ends with something like R, they are going to put the apostrophe and then S. And you should actually pay attention to what it means. Peter's book. That's Peter's book. It simply means the book belongs to Peter. So apostrophe is used to explain belonging, belonging. It belongs to Peter. You also need to pay attention to something like hyphen, which is used to join two words together. You also need to pay attention to these two words, all right? These words, I can bet you may likely see it in your SAT, right? Things like this. Now, this it and this it, they don't mean the same thing. You need to pay attention to the meaning, because there's a way it can be used in a sentence. It will like change the meaning of the sentence. So you need to pay attention to it, or rather, it defines the meaning of that sentence. Now, this actually stands for belonging, whereas this is the short form of it is. You know, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, you know. But this, it's Maxwell's, you know, it's Maxwell's. This connotes belonging. This is the short form of it is. So when you see it used in a sentence, you pay attention to it and interpret it properly. The next thing you need to pay attention to actually is every detail. Nothing is insignificant in as far as in so much your SAT test is concerned. Everything is important, so you pay attention to every bit of the sentences. And lastly, there is what is called word in context. Now, generally, SAT doesn't use so much big words because it is structured for undergraduates. It's structured for people that just finish high school. But you need to understand a word based on how it is used in a sentence. Because you see, any word you see can actually have up to 5 different ways or more you can use that word. So you pay attention to how that particular word is used in that sentence, and that is what will define the meaning that you will read to such a word. So please pay attention to everything I've just explained. If you have any confusion, just watch the tutorial again or drop a comment in this video tutorial. You can ask me any question in the comment section, and trust me, I'm going to answer the questions. So we're going to look at question type under the evidence-based writing. Yeah. Please subscribe to this video, like it, and please share. We really appreciate, okay? Comment on it, like the video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you. We're going to be looking at SAT evidence-based writing question types. There are a couple of them we're going to cover as we progress in this tutorial. Please pay attention to them. Your understanding of each and all of these question types will help you to do well in your SAT. All right. The first is improving sentences. Here, you'll be required to choose an option that is clearly written and grammatically correct. So pay attention to 2 things in this question type. Meaning. Okay. You pay attention to meaning. That is logic. Does it make sense overall? Like the sentence, is it sensible? That is logic. And then you also pay attention to grammar. Is it grammatically correct? You look at the tenses, the present, the past, the future, and all of that. Even the organization of the words. You look at all of that. So, under improving sentences question type, the SAT tests your ability to choose sentences that meet these 2 requirements. A sentence that is clearly written, that is a sentence that makes logical sense. You can relate to it. It has meaning, or it's meaningful, and then it is grammatically correct. Okay. For example, if I make a sentence like James and John came to the class in his car. James and John came to the class in his car. Now it's grammatically correct, but logically it's not correct. Because James and John, they are both female, then in his car. So the question will now be whose car? So you pay attention to every detail of sentences, ensure it is grammatically correct and it makes sense. The second question type is sentence error question types. Now here you are asked to figure out which part of a sentence contains an error. So this time around, you're going to look at the sentence, examine the part of that sentence that has an error. You may look out for word repetition. Every year he comes to this class annually, every year annually. So look at repetitions like that. Now, if that is in the sentence, you are going to remove either the annually or the every year, depending on how the sentence is. So, sentence error question types seek you to spot the errors in the sentences. Remember, you'll be given options, so you're going to choose the option with the best answer. To do well in this question type, you need to actually understand the correct form of that sentence or what you are going to remove before you look at the options. Because the options, some of the options may look very related, like, oh, is this, it could be this, oh, is this. If you are not so sure of what to pick before you look at the options, you might pick the wrong one. But if you examine the sentence and you discover that, oh, the comma is where it's not supposed to be, the full stop or the period is where it's not supposed to be, the use of apostrophe or even the words. Now, once you identify the error, it's going to be easier for you to correct it. The third question type is improving paragraphs. In this question type, your ability to organize information, from beginning to end. Look at the progression of information, because in this question type, you are actually working with paragraphs, unlike the first and second, where you are working with sentences. A paragraph is a collection of sentences. So you are working with paragraph, and then you are going to look at the entire paragraph and look at the order of information. For example, if you have introduction, you have body, and you have conclusion, introduction must come first, then the body, and then the conclusion. That is the order. So if the paragraph is showing maybe the body, then the introduction, and then conclusion, then you will see the option that will give you something like introduction, body, that kind of order. Like if you are to tell somebody about something, obviously you have to mention it first, before you describe it, and then you conclude on it. So your ability to understand that process, and then it will help you to improve on paragraph. The next question type is actually called it's interpretation of data. All right. Here you'll be given data in information, that is in information graphics. Like it can be in a tabular form, it can be a chart. So you are going to look at that diagram, okay, or that data, and then based on that, you are going to choose an answer. So the evidence of this answer is going to be from the data, from the diagram, from the chart, from the table, from the map, from wherever you are seeing. So it is visual. You need to understand that it is visual. It is not an assumption. It is not the question that is seeking for your opinion. It is a question that just assesses what you can see and your ability to assess what you can see. If I have a table, for example, that talks about the consumption of apple by male and female people maybe living in Nigeria, male and female consumption of apple. If male shows 20 apples per day, for example, and then female shows 30, so it simply means that female consumes more apple. That is the interpretation. So you look at the data, you interpret it based on what you are seeing. So again, please remember, it is visual. It is not assumption. It is not I think, but you look at the data and then you interpret it. All right. Then the next is improving a passage structure, support, and focus. All right. So here we have to do well in this question type, you need to be able to review the author's overall idea, all right? Because you are improving the passage itself. You are improving the passage. So what does it mean? You are going to select options that strengthens the passage. The passage. Now, for you to strengthen the passage, you need to understand what is the author trying to say, what is the subject of discourse. What is the subject, what are the supporting points, and then you look at that. So in this question type, you're actually going to look at the option, that improve the structure of the passage, support, that is, support means provide more evidence or provide more explanation or provide more information to support the author's ideas, and then the focus. So summarily, just to re-emphasize again, for you to do well in this question type, you need to pay attention to understanding the author's central idea, because that is what you are going to strengthen and elaborate more on. We are going to look at evidences and possibly type of evidences for the SAT evidence-based writing. All right, so let's look at that. Evidence-based writing of the SAT. We are going to look at evidence. Evidence. I mentioned earlier on that evidence is very key in your SAT. The best way to think about evidence in your SAT writing test is evidence is the reason behind whatever decision you are arriving at. So SAT want to be sure that you know why you are taking or why you are choosing that particular answer, right? So there are types of evidences in the SAT test that is scattered abroad that you need to pay attention to. They are like signposts, that are going to help you to choose your right answer in the overall SAT test. So some of such example of those evidences are things like information. Under information, you have generalization, like somebody just come up with a statement. Do you know that technology is as important as life? That's a generalization about technology. So such statements could contain information that will lead to an answer. The second one is ideas, opinions. What is the person trying to say? That can lead you to an answer. The next is fact. Under fact, you have things like figures, data, numbers, involving numbers, and you have pure statistics. So like we just talked about under the question type, this is data and is obviously going to lead you to an answer. The next on the list, we have date, date. Pay attention to date. They are actually going to lead you to an answer. You have direct quotation, details, and evidences. The list is endless. You can actually research on them, all right? Types of evidence or evidences that can lead you to an answer. I like to explain some very useful tips to you that is going to help you in the SAT evidence-based reading and writing. So it's going to be useful not just for the writing but also the reading. All right, so let's go. The first tip I like to emphasize is you should pay attention to homophones. Homophones are words that sound same but they have different meaning. So you need to pay attention to how they are used in the sentence, especially in the writing section where you have to correct, improve on sentences, okay? So like the word fair and fair, these words you pronounce them same, but they mean different things. This has to do with exhibition, all right? I went for a fair in Lagos 2 weeks ago, and then these have several meaning actually, but majorly it stands for transportation or money that is paid for transportation. Do you get that? So pay attention to homophones, please. You may study more around them. Then again, you need to understand that commas cannot separate two thoughts. Comma is actually to like put a pause within an idea, within same thought. But at times, the author in the practice of trying to find out if you can spot the error might want to put two ideas aside by using a comma. That alone tells you that is an error. So understand that commas cannot separate two thoughts. It has to be one thought, right? But semicolons on the other hand, on digital SAT, separate two complete thoughts. So a semicolon can actually separate two ideas. And then lastly, on this, you should pay attention to subject and verb. Subject and verb must agree. Subject and verb must agree as you look at the sentences, all right? Now, if I say something like college school students love learning grammar rules, this is correct. But if I add s to this love, it actually means it's no longer correct. The agreement between the verb and then the verb to love and between the verb and the subject is no longer in agreement. Okay, so you need to pay attention to every detail, pay attention to these useful tips and more. All right, I like to say at this junction that you see, to do well in the SAT writing test, you need to pay attention to all the tips that are mentioned in this video. You watch them as many times as possible. You could download the tutorial, have it in your PC and watch it endlessly until you understand every detail of the information I have mentioned. The overall, lastly, essence of the writing test is your ability to improve on sentences, improve on paragraph. And you can do that by reordering sentence, that is changing the order of the sentence. Looking out for errors, words that are wrongly used, words that are wrongly spelled, all right? So subscribe to this video because I'm going to talk about some rules, strategic rules that will help you in the SAT overall test, both in the reading and in the writing. If you subscribe, when we drop that video, you are going to get the alert. And then you can actually drop any comment in the comment section of this video. Ask me any questions. I'm here to answer you. My phone number will also be there. You can chat me on WhatsApp. You can call me, and I'll be glad to hear from you. Be free to share the videos, with your friends.